Looks like we're live. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the Japanese Grand Prix here around Suzuka Circuit. I am Fallen Monkeys, your host, joined in the commentator's booth by ISRL Esports once again this week. Esports, how are you today?
Doing great. Yourself?
That's great. I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. I'm really excited for the racing that we're gonna have here around Suzuka for this Tier 2 championship. We're pretty much at the end of the season, and I think the championship's pretty much sorted out at this point. But elsewhere down the field, just as we're waiting for drivers to come out on track, what would be some talking points or potentially even some battles that we can keep an eye out here in these last few, I guess, here around the race or even in the last few sessions we have left?
Well, as we all know, generally the championship's already been wrapped up weeks ago. But we did have a nice little break here. So all these drivers spent a lot of time getting in laps here around Suzuka in the off week. So honestly, look for competitiveness all over the track. You're going to see a varying tire strategy going in. We've seen some people pull off one-stops. You go from start on softs, maybe go to a hard. Maybe you go to a soft, medium, medium. Variable tire strategies here, and depending on the weather, which we're generally waiting for in the live stream chat. But so far, no news there. But yeah, just the tire strategy is going to play a lot here. And it's just you gotta race a mistake-free race in order to be successful at Suzuka. It's a challenging track, lot of undulation. The S's, as we know, the Degnas, and coming around Spoon, like all technical tracks. But a lot of drivers, this is one they mark on the calendar as their favorite.
Oh, definitely. It is, as you said, it is one of the more challenging tracks here on the circuit. But that doesn't make it any less exciting for the drivers and for us in the commentators booth. As we're watching Bumblebee going around, and you were talking about tires, and in this short qualifying session, I know the first runs don't really have speak to too much in terms of the legitimate strategies the drivers are trying here. But I'm seeing Bumblebee coming out on the medium tires to start his out laps, so potentially looking to see what kind of pace they have to potentially gauge whether or not they're a viable starting tire option. Now, I thought going into this, personally, into the Tier 3 race, that a soft to medium was going to be the strategy, because I thought, personally, I felt pretty comfortable in the soft tires. And even more so on the medium tires. I thought I could extend them fairly long. But do you think we'll mostly see soft to hards, or do you think we'll see more drivers leaning towards that soft, medium, medium two-stop?
Well, here's the thing. The Tier 3 had a little bit of a variable weather thing. Now, it wasn't raining, but we had a lot of cloud cover. The track conditions and temperatures were farther down than what we're seeing right here in qualifying as the sun's out. So, obviously, the tire degradation in the first race of our Sunday afternoon went completely different than what we may see here. So, like I said, it's all about how the ambient track temperature and air temperature feels. So, like I said, it's unexpected. Just still waiting for the weather report. We usually wait for Chris, but so far nothing.
Yeah, nothing so far as I'm taking a look. Bumblebee coming around the hairpin, looking to close out his first lap on those medium tires. So we'll see what kind of time he can put up as he's coming up to this very challenging spoon corner. It starts pretty high speed, but closes up very quickly if you're not careful. Looks like Bumblebee takes a decent line through it. And now coming through to the end of Sector 2, on towards 130R, should be able to take this left-handed corner, high-speed left-handed corner, full throttle, as you see there, sticking into 8th gear, keeping the foot on the gas. Coming through the last corner, you can definitely cut a lot of these last two corners, as I found out earlier this week in practice. And comes across the line, and it's a 128.2 as the first time on the board here in qualifying with 14 minutes to go.
Yeah, probably going to see that get topped immediately here by, I believe that's Nathan JB, who's coming around to the final corners now.
Yep, just jumped over to Nathan, coming around the last corner. Let's see, and he does beat the time, nearly a 127 flat. That's a 127.024 as the new fastest lap here. And as more drivers are going to cross the line, we'll see if that can be beaten. I think that was Callis who just crossed the line with a 128.5 on the soft tires, so not a quick time at all. And Vito coming across with a 127.3 on the soft tires, so showing a bit more pace here. Cohen, I didn't even see cross the line. He's at a 127.5 also on the soft tires. So it looks like as if, at least early on, the soft tire is the tire of choice, but it's still Nathan leading the way with that 127.024.
Yeah, Enda coming around right now, putting a time, goes fourth.
Yep, 127.7. I'll get the here. Let's take a
Cruz.
look at the tires. At least in terms of the best time. So Cruz, AJ, and Bumblebee all on the medium tires. Everybody else on the soft tires, at least for the drivers who have set a lap so far. On stream, we're watching Irish Potato coming around on those medium tires, coming around the hairpin now. We'll see what kind of time he's gonna do. Always a threat here in qualifying, and even more so in the race. Had a very took a very nice strategy to a win home in, I believe it was Baku, that was that crazy one stop that he was able to make work with the reverse strategy, and we'll see if he can bring some of that here in Japan and eke out another good result and potentially a good qualifying as well. But slowing down on the approach to 130R, so maybe either
Just
running out of
backing up.
fuel or backing up before starting another lap here.
Yeah, probably just trying to get the temps in, or maybe it was just banking
Or maybe
lap
letting
just to
some
get
other
the setup
drivers
up.
through, as you do slow down quite a bit here. But I
Yeah,
think
good
he is...
reports, rain at the end of the race.
Oh, that'll make things very interesting in terms of the strategies. Maybe you could do a medium to rain, or even a soft medium, and then potentially onto the inters come the end of the race, if depending on when that rain shows up, compared to the end of the race.
Trying to see who's the closest one is going to be coming across, and it looks like right now Irish Stew Potatoes is the only one on a hot lap.
Yeah, it looks like it. We're riding with him as he just went through the S's. Sets the purple first sector, so it's looking like a pretty quick time. Albeit that 146.3, not the best time, but not a time representative of the pace he has, as he's probably going to be going much quicker than that this time around. Coming through that hairpin, through the swooping right-hander before that spoon corner here. As I said before, I'll say it again, a very challenging corner, but it looks like he's handling it pretty well this time around, and now it's pretty much flat to the finish, other than that last little, last three corners, I guess I should say. But just barely for a second, purple second sector, but disappeared pretty quickly. But now as he's coming around the last corner here, we'll see what kind of time is it going to be with those medium tires. And good enough for P2, that's 127.046. So just almost beats the time set by Nathan JB, but just misses out on pole. But that's still a solid time for provisional P2 with just under 10 minutes to go in qualifying.
Yep, on the alternate strategy as well.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying that alternate strategy, maybe starting on the medium tires and going towards maybe a medium soft, or medium to the rain, depending on when that rain shows up, as he said before.
Krishna's coming around, set a time, and goes P3.
P3, that's a 127.167, so not a bad time. Knocks Vito down into fourth. But still loads of time to get another lap in, as I already see Vito going out on an out lap, as we see Matt's actually having a little bit of trouble on the exit of the S's, catching that curb, and unfortunately has to, that's the end of his lap before it truly got started. And he still does not have a time on the board so far, so gonna have to potentially hurry up a little bit with that. Synchro on those soft tires coming around, approaching that hairpin. Looks like he's on a lap, so let's ride with him for a little bit. It's looking pretty quick, at least from what I can see so far, but lots of time to be gained and or lost here at this end of Sector 2 around Spoon Corner, and even through the last chicane before the start-finish straight. 127.024 is the time to beat. It was set on the soft tires by Nathan JB _17. pretty early in this qualifying session, but it's still the time to beat here with 8 minutes to go now. Big lockup by Synchro as he's coming around the last chicane, around the last corner now. Let's see how is that going to affect his time as he crosses the line. Good enough for 6th. That's a 127.5 for him, so not a bad qualifying, and puts him in a decent spot here. Sitting in P6.
126.3.
Oh my goodness, Nathan JB going that much quicker, completely blowing away the old-timey set. 126.3, as he said, the new time to beat, slowing down now to let other cars through, but gives himself a really nice cushion as somebody else set a time. I think that was Laparkta who crossed the line with the medium tires, setting a 127.3, or sorry, a 127.271, good enough for 5th.
Matt's got to pit again, get off those tires. He's obviously tore him up on his spin.
Yep, and it looks like he is in the pits now. Dark doesn't have a time, but as he's approaching the hairpin, he's got the ERS active, so I think he's looking to put up a time here in that Racing Point car, so we'll see what he can do. He's already got a lap of wear on those medium tires, so potentially not at their peak temperature, but some drivers, I know myself included, like to do that extra lap just to get the extra heat in the tires and potentially get that groove in. Even more so considering that Japan as a track is a bit more of a field track. Kind of have to get into the groove of the lap before you really start feeling good around the track. I don't know if your experience is a little bit different, but I've always found once I get a few laps under my belt straight, then I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident, a little bit more comfortable around the track.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta just let the track, as they say, track evolution, just really, with the tires too, you gotta get them just absolutely perfect for here, 'cause like I said before, it's so technical, so.
Oh yeah,
where's
and
Callis gonna go? He's getting ready to cross on the mediums. Don't think it's gonna be top of the charts, but
looks like it now up into 9th, so just passing the driver we've been riding on board with here on stream, End of the World, who's also on a flying lap, it looks like, looking to beat his 127.7, and as he comes around the last corner and crosses the line, it is going to be quicker, but it's only a 127.604, so stays in 10th, and Callis, who crossed the line not too long beforehand, keeps that
Callis
9th, and actually, yeah, just as we switch over to maybe a bit of a commentator's curse, he also has trouble on the exit of the S's, so that's the either the second or the third driver we've seen so far here in qualifying struggling on that exit. I know that was a bit of a trouble point here in my practice for this Japanese Grand Prix as well. I know it's very tricky, especially when you clip that outside curve. It's easy to lose the car and go into the wall. But thankfully that doesn't end Callis' qualifying. He just has a bit of a long lap now with broken front wing.
absolutely, it's going to affect everything too. He's got to get back, get that done. 4 3/4 seconds remaining in the session, so he's got time. It's probably going to be for 1 though.
Oh yeah, yeah, but if you're the likes of Mats and Chris85 and you're on Visser, at least for the time being, you might want to get a move on with no times being set. I'm not too sure, though, if there's any qualifying bans in play. I know your own Visser is about to cross the line here, and actually he just set the time, and that's a 126.697. Good enough for second, eking out Irish Potatoes. Okay, I'm not too sure what happened there. A little bit of a weird flash on the system there, but as I was saying, your own Visser in second, beating Irish Potatoes 127.0, and he's and Jerome Visser setting a 126.697, but it's still Nathan J. Beast on pole with under 4 minutes to go. Chris is on an outlap. Cruz is also on an outlap. Synchro's on an outlap, and I think that's Jordan on a flying lap, but actually it's an invalidated lap. So no improvement there from him. And I think Synchro
I see a lot of cars start to exit the pits to get their final run in, so let's look for a little bit of impatience with the drivers here.
Oh yeah, and hopefully hopefully with the if all the drivers are going to come out, hopefully nobody gets caught up in traffic, getting their laps affected. We're riding with Synchro, looking to be on a lap, coming through the S's now in Sector 1. How is he going to handle that curb? Just barely touches the curb there. No trouble. That's exactly how you'd like to take it, depending on how confident you are around. Bit of a lockup coming through the first right-hander. But now, or sorry, the second right-hander, I think that was, as now he's coming through the hairpin.
Ooh, a little bit of wheel spin there.
Yeah, just a tiny little bit. Gonna affect the exit speed as he approaches that spoon corner. But I just noticed Laparca out of qualifying now, probably in the pits, but actually invalidates, goes a little bit wide, and that's the end of his lap. So he might want to go around and try again on the reset, as with 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go now, not too much time to go into the pits and come out for one last lap, as we're already starting to see drivers coming out on their out laps. Cruz, he sets a purple second sector as he's coming to sector 3. Might run into a little bit of traffic on the way to the line, but actually no, thankfully a little bit too far away, as we'll give the onboard, opens DRS, crosses the line, and that's good enough for third with a 126.993. So a solid qualifying lap from Cruz, but not quick enough for pole, as it's still Nathan JB on pole, 126.388, the time to beat now with less than 2 minutes to go in qualifying.
Yeah, it's really got to depend, too, if an Irish New Potato really wants to go out. Like, his time was comparable to Nathan's at the beginning of the session when he set that lap on the mediums, but we'll have to see if he's willing to switch up his strategies for... Ooh.
But I think at this point, it's a little bit too late for Irish Potato to come out again. Yep. With only just a minute and 15 seconds, I think...
He's coming out.
Oh, I think maybe a bit of a mistake, but I don't think he's going to have enough time. I think it's going to hit 0 by the time he hits the line. So maybe a bit of a miscommunication on the pit wall for the Red Bull team.
Trying to figure out who's they're flying laps. We got Dark.
Yep, I was riding with Bumblebee. He just invalidated through Spoon. So another Spoon invalidation here. So that's the end of his lap, but I think he should have enough time to go around and set one more. I'll switch over to Dark now, currently sitting in 14th, looking to beat that 128 that he has on the board now. Looking like a pretty decent lap as he comes around Spoon, keeps it valid. So now coming down to the home stretch, which is pretty much just 130R, chicane, and one last right-hand turn, but it's still easy to lose a lot of time if you're not careful. Takes Spoon nicely, and maybe not the optimal line there as he cuts in a little quickly. Might lose a little bit of time there. Can actually cut a little bit more of that last chicane, but he's going to cross the line. Is it quicker? No, it's not quicker, as now we've got just about everybody out on a flying lap now. Now let's see who's going to cross first. We'll keep an eye out. I'll ride with your own Visser. As Krishna's in the wall, he retires out of the, looks like that's out of the hairpin. As we have Krishna out, Laparca out, and Synchro out of qualifying now. Your own Visser says a purple first sector as we're riding with him. Whereabouts is Nathan? Nathan's right behind. Not using any ERS, so maybe aborting his lap. Yep, slowing down there to let a quicker car through. So Nathan not going to go faster, so it's
Callus P2.
Callus, yeah, going P2 with a 126.4, so getting close. But I think at this point, other than potentially Jordan, as he might be crossing the line here, no, not going to beat the time. Matt's actually setting a 126.5, but I feel like for now, all eyes are on your own Visser, who's coming across 130R, sets a purple second sector, and with 3 corners to go, currently sitting in 4th. Can he go faster than Nathan JB's 126.3? Comes across the final corner, opens DRS, crosses the line, and it is quicker with a 126.296. That's your own Visser taking pole from Nathan, and does it a little bit in style there as he runs into, I think that was the Renault that was just parked after the end of qualifying. But your own Visser on pole, as we're just waiting for Nathan to come across the line, who gets his pole position taken away from him at the very last moment. after what I can only assume is a costly mistake on his own qualifying lap that forced him to abort and potentially give away any fighting chance that he had at taking that pole position back.
Look at the gaps there. It's amazing between the top four.
Amazing gaps, and but I'll take us through the order. As I said, your own Visser taking that AlphaTauri to pole, starting on the soft tires, with Nathan getting that front row start either way, starting in second. Callis in third, Mats in fourth. AJ Wuhan coming in fifth, with Cruz qualifying in sixth. Irish Potato in seventh, but on the medium tires, so keep an eye out for him. Jordan in eighth, Cohen in ninth, and End of the World rounds out the top 10. Free choice of tires beyond here. We have Krishna, Vito, Laparta, Synchro, Dark, Bumblebee, and Chris, who did not set a time. Potentially had a qualifying ban this session, but either way, starting from the back of the grid in that McLaren car. As we're getting ready to load into the race now after that very exciting qualifying session. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the stream so far. I hope you're enjoying hope you enjoyed the qualifying session, and hope we enjoy the race as we're just taking a few moments before we kick things off. So after that qualifying session, anything you notice going into the race that we should be keeping an eye out?
Other than the Dutch people in ISRL are fast, but other than that, the top four looking extremely close. They're looking very competitive. Nathan JB, I feel like he actually thought he had it pretty much secured and backed out of his final lap, so that's probably why we didn't see him set the lap there at the end. He thought he actually had that one, and by the time that Bjorn crossed the line for take pole, it was already too late for Nathan, so that's all she wrote. But it's looking competitive, and 17 drivers, maybe we get a clean race here, and it could throw, like, maybe people, like we were thinking tier 3, thinking early safety car, trying to rethink your strategy, but we saw a surprisingly clean race, safety car free besides a virtual one earlier, so let's hope for the same and just get the racing done. So
Yeah, of course. And one thing that we do have to keep in mind, as it looks like Synchro is the first to go, readying up as we see the timer showing up here. But I think one thing that we do need to keep in mind is that contrarily to what we normally have, the drivers did have 2 weeks of practice rather than just one, as we did have the week off last week. Whether you chose to practice for the 2 weeks was completely up to you, but in theory, some of these drivers did have a full 2 weeks to work on this track. But as you were saying, I was thinking early safety car, but turns out there was only VSCs, I think, in the Tier 3 race. So are we going to see something similar here in Tier 2, where everyone's just dialed in and we just have a nice clean race, hopefully with a lot of action? Or are we going to see one of those early safety cars, maybe some drivers getting a little overzealous and overexcited into the first few laps?
absolutely. A lot of things to really focus on for the drivers here is staying consistently. Sometimes, as we've all heard it before, sometimes on tracks, slow is fast, and that can be very, very important here. Just give it too much throttle, as unfortunately I experienced earlier on today. Your car could just snap around at any moment, especially the top of the hill where the S's are, as we saw in qualifying, caught a bit of drivers out. So it's technical, and they're going to have to show a lot of focus to make it to the end here.
Oh yeah, and it's definitely a track that you have to be dialed in for the entire race. You can't lose out in your focus, especially in Sector 1. Through those S's, it's very easy to lose the car, and even through Spoon on the exit of this hairpin that we're seeing the drivers coming through now. So many places where it's easy to just make a little mistake and cost you so much time. But now I'm also looking at the tire selection here. Of course, the top 10 starting on all starting on the softs except for Nude Potato, who's on the medium tires. But looking at the bottom 7, Krishna electing for the soft tires, looking to keep with the strategy of pretty much the top 10. But then we have Vito, Lapartis, Synchro, and Chris all choosing the medium tires, and Dark looking to start on the hard tires. So Dark really looking to run that alternate strategy, maybe looking to do a hard soft in an ideal world. So we'll have to keep an eye on him as the race goes along, as I do expect to see him near the front of the order, save for any possible strategy changers as the race plays along.
Absolutely. We see Mats obviously was disqualified from the formation lap, so he's sitting on the grid.
Yep, went for a bit of a Sunday drive, I think, right around sector 1. So he didn't get to finish his, oh my goodness, formation lap. But here we go. The drivers are lining up back on the grid for us to get started on the race here. We're watching Jeroen Visser lead the way as he takes his first position. Wonderful camera view as we get there. Even better. There we go. That's one that we can actually use. So we're watching the drivers line up, just waiting for everybody to take their position on the grid so we can get started with the 5 red lights and the start of the race. Interval, here we go. Everyone's lined up. Let's see, I want to get the position change here for the start so we can catch anybody falling down the order. Just waiting for the for everybody to load in for the race. I saw the lights go off here, and the lights are off. Didn't even get the 5 red lights. They're just starting off. Oh, look at that. A few drivers, already some wing damage as we go down into turn 1. Nathan takes the lead. Callis is in second. Jeroen Visser falling down to third. We have some yellow flags here, and that's Laparkta falling down the order.
Cruz around off the back of Jeroen Visser.
Oh, no, Cruz around. Oh, yeah, look at that. Cruz falling all the way down the order, but Nathan getting a strong start, leading the way. Callis in second, and Jeroen Visser losing 2 places, falling down to third. As we have a yellow flag in Sector 1, that might have just been Cruz getting back on the grid, but Cruz losing out on 10 spots. Mats falling down 7 positions, not having the start he was hoping for as he's battling it out with Bumblebee here in this big gaggle of cars. And he actually had I think that's Bumblebee side by side, battling it with 2 Renos, has a lockup, loses out in that position. It might actually lose out to Synchro, as Synchro trying to go around the outside of the hairpin that turns into the inside on this corner. As we have some nice battles here in the midfield. On lap 1 as everybody is oh so close together and for the most part keeping it clean, which is what we like to see. Chris overtaking Dark a little bit behind them as he's working his way back up the grid. Dark looking for a bit of a longer strategy, starting with those hard tires as Krishna I think overtook Jordan up into 9th, looking to close up on Vito. As Nathan
was a terrible start for Jeroen. He got a lot of wheel spin as the lights went out. Nathan took advantage of it. Ooh, and who's that? Jordan's around and into the pit he goes.
Oh no. So at least so into the pits. So Jordan taking a bit of an early pit stop, potentially looking to put on those hard tires and take them a long way to the end, or convert to the 2-stop strategy, commit to it early on. But it looks like it's still
AJ in the lead.
Sorry?
Timing glitch shows Bumblebee Cruz on my screen.
Yeah, I've got Bumblebee, Jordan, and Nathan. But it looks like that's being switched. It's being resolved, sort of. But we've gotten a little bit used to the game doing this at this point, as I see Vito putting pressure on End of the World for 7th. Vito looking to work his way up the grid. Already up 4 spots, qualifying in 12th, pretty much his favorite spot to qualify in. So he's another driver that we're going to have to keep an eye out. He's on the medium tires, so potentially can go a little bit long. End of the World goes a little bit wide through Spoon, but Vito unable to capitalize, at least for the time being, but probably gets the better exit. We see he's got the overtake activated here, getting very close, going down the inside. Are they going to go side by side through 130R? There's contact. And that's End of the World going a little bit wide through the contact, and that opens the door for Krishna to basically take that free position from End of the World, who now puts a little bit too much throttle on the exit of that chicane and falls all the way down the order now as we see Dark overtake him, and that's End of the World down in P13 after being up in nearly P6, P7.
He's not going to be happy about that.
No, definitely not going to be happy about that. Definitely won't be happy about the contact. But I don't think there's too much he can be upset about other than himself in terms of that mistake coming around that last chicane. Unless there was something I didn't see on stream, but it looked like it was just a little bit too much gas on the exit there, and got a little bit of tailspin.
Irish Sweet Potato sitting on the mediums. towards the end of the first inning, you should see him gain on all the guys ahead of him as they start on the softs, and him and Vito. Vito just moving up the field as usual, just a model of consistency as usual.
Oh yeah, and looking to, and it looks like he is sort of closing that gap to Irish Potato, but Irish Potato is, as you said, playing the long game with those medium tires, waiting for the wear to start to kick in. We're only on lap 3 here, because we've already seen a whole bunch of action. Might see a little bit more. Synchro putting the pressure on Bumblebee for P9. Coming through 130 Art, looks to make a look down the inside, but thinks wisely of it as that gap quickly closed. But now, potentially with the help of DRS, will he get it done down the start-finish straight? Bumblebee also has DRS, but it looks like Synchro just has a little bit more pace, and he does go down the inside, and it looks like he is able to make the move stick. So that's Synchro up into 9th, Bumblebee falling down into 10th. And potentially, but gonna try to stick by to get that position back from Synchro.
Cruz is trying to recover, you know, he fell down the order, but he's right there with Enda, who also fell down the order and parked the 2 right back there. But unfortunately for Jordan, he's going to be looking for an early safety car.
Oh, definitely, but it was not the start those 2 drivers were hoping for. Down in 14th and 15th, but lots of racing to go, so still loads of time. Just got to keep your head down. You've already basically made your pit stop, so just close up some time, and you can potentially overtake some other drivers who are battling it out. Since the grid is oh so close together here. Outside of pretty much outside of Jordan, who's catching up fairly quickly, I would think. Having to pit a little bit very early on, but a lap later than the norm. But I'm riding with Krishna, putting the pressure on Vito. We can see right up behind, coming through that last chicane, but Vito looks like he gets a pretty strong exit out of the last corner and is able to open up that gap a little bit, up to 5/10. But it looks like even further up the front of the grid, it looks like Callis is starting to close up that gap just a tiny little bit on Nathan, or at the very least keeping Nathan honest at the front of the order.
Through the S's, just like you said, it'll catch you up. A lot of oversteers.
Yeah, Callis took the oversteer. Yeah, clipped the curb, and now we do have your own Visser, who's right up behind now, putting the pressure on Callis for P2.
AJ Wuhan will want them to battle so he can get his nose into those podium spots.
Oh, definitely. I mean, AJ still involved, but a bit more of a gap compared to everybody else. But actually, Callis was able to recover fairly nicely and make that grow that gap a little bit to your own Visser, back up to 8/10, but still lost out a lot of time to Nathan, as that gap is up back up to 1.3 seconds. Well, let's see, Cruz and End of the World going side by side through Spoon. Let's see, they're going to go to 130R. It's still End of the World in 14th, Cruz behind in 15th, but for how long is that going to be as they both race towards this high-speed corner? Not looking to make a move there wisely, and it looks like as if End of the World just had a slightly better line, but locks up a little bit. So this might open the door for Cruz down the start-finish straight, as there's a yellow flag in Sector 3. I'm not too sure what that was for. But let's see, and this is...
has a Red Bull.
Yeah, Mats is falling down the order a little bit as... does he have any wing damage? It looks like he does have a little bit of end plate damage as Mats. So not what he was hoping for, and now Dark has got the pressure on him, and Cohen's right there as well, and there's a whole gaggle of cars looking to speed up, and Matt's just going off, going wide, not having the downforce he needed to handle those S's, and falls all the way down to 16th, and potentially might have to take a pit stop to fix that front wing after the damage. But through all of that, it's still End of the World leading Cruz. But look at Cruz looking to make a move down the inside. There's a little bit of contact there between the Mercedes and the Alfa Romeo. And that's Laparta right behind as well, looking to get involved with those medium tires. Looking to get a lunge down the inside. He's definitely there. Cruz giving him space, but through Spoon, which becomes the outside, it looks like Cruz, who had the inside line, is a little bit better positioned. But now it's all about the exit as who's going to get the better of who. Laparta falling behind a little bit. Cruz looks like he's got a fantastic exit as he's going to try around the outside, but very wisely holds back, but might make the lunge down into the end. There's a little bit of contact, it looked like, between Cruz and End of the World, trying a little bit of a switchback, but still nobody can get the better of anybody as now they're side by side going down the start-finish straight. Cruz is just ahead now, it looks like, as I think Cruz will get that 13th, but not without a fight, as End of the World is still keeping the nose there. And End of the World, actually, no! There's a little bit of contact, I think, and End of the World loses out. Laparta is still behind, but Cruz now all of a sudden has a 2-second gap to End of the World, as I think Laparta might have got caught in that as well.
Oh! And Cohen's been shoved wide at the top of the Dunlop curve. Ooh, the bad spot to be in.
Oh no, as Bumblebee is the first to take a time penalty. Cohen falling down the order and struggling to get back on track. His tires must be extremely hot after that incident, as they tend to get. As we have now, well, just some yellow flags, but nothing to worry too much about.
He's got it recovered. Just Nick the Wallaby. He's gonna have to pit.
Oh yeah, and that'll be a long lap
towards
towards
the... 6-lap old softs.
It's not the end of the world.
Time that you could come in.
Oh yeah, and look at Cruz. Actually, just as we're saying that, Cruz looking to go side by side with Bumblebee. He's gonna want to get that overtake done before 130R, and it looks like he is able to get that done as Cruz works his way up into 11th. Bumblebee falls down to 12th.
Good recovery from Cruz so far. Keeping his head down, just pushing on.
Yeah, it's been a very solid recovery drive, and as I said, yeah, keeping his head down and looking pretty poised as Bumblebee goes into the pits, looking to get off the tire he's on, and get a fresh set of boots on.
At the front, though, still remains the same. These guys, top three, just consistently being separated by pretty much DRS.
Oh yeah, they're doing a good job keeping the gaps to one another, but we're keeping an eye on them, and if those seem to close to the point of a battle on track, we'll have to switch to them. But for now, it's still right around 1 second between them all. But End of the World looking to close the gap on Laparta, but I think actually it's the other way around, that Laparta is growing the gap, looking to catch up to Cruz, that they can both see from their cockpit, but just so far away. But we are seeing the gap starting to form just a tiny little bit here. But Callis now closing the gap back up to Nathan, as I think they're both starting to feel the wear of the soft tires, but potentially Nathan feeling it more than Callis, as now the gap is down to less than a second, and we see now that Callis has some DRS to use in his approach to Nathan, and we'll see if we might get a bit of a battle for the lead here within the next lap or two.
Absolutely. Callis has closed the gap before, but then lost a bit of rear end stability through the S's, so let's see.
Yeah, try to, that's the thing, and it looks like he's handling the S's much better this time around, so far take two is going pretty well. Down to about half a second now the gap is. But this isn't really much of the overtake spot, but we might see a little bit of a lunge to close the gap up coming into the hairpin. But he is going to have to watch out as he doesn't want to foil his exit. But it looks like he is able to, well, keeping the gap right around where it was. But now, where the part of the track we're up to now is all about the straight line pace. So we'll see who's got better speed in the straight line. And who can maximize their exit out of the Spoon here. And it looks like as if Callis did get a bit of a better exit. Maybe the toe is helping a little bit as the gap is down to under a second. So unless, oh my goodness, sorry, unless Nathan decides he wants to pit within the next lap or two, we might see some battling and we might see an overtake as Callus is closing up the gap. And there we go. We're actually seeing both of them going into the pits here on lap 9. So they're both looking to go probably soft to hard, I would think. As we're actually seeing the top 4 going into the pits, but Irish Potato, as we expected, continuing onwards on those medium tires, and Vito as well continuing onwards, and Synchro is continuing all on the medium tires. So we're starting to see these medium tire runners now play into effect. And even Dark, as I said at the beginning of the race, keep an eye out for him. He's up into 5th, keeping it clean and having a solid race, and actually putting a bit of pressure on Chris 85 here in that McLaren car, as they're coming around the S's. And Synchro actually taking a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings with pushing those corners a little bit too far.
Nathan coming out right behind Laparta.
Yep, and that's
have to get by the Williams quickly just so we can.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Growing to Callus rather.
Yeah, because Callus now 2.6 behind, so the gap has grown. But if Nathan can't get past Laparta quickly, then that gap will shrink very quickly, as Callus does have a little bit of fresh air. And it looks like
Nathan
as they're
back
going
to the softs.
Yeah, so Nathan maybe looking to go soft and hoping for enough rain to potentially make that intermediate stop work, or maybe looking to do a soft medium strategy as a two-stopper.
It's interesting, but I can see why. Instead of Callus like closing the gap on Nathan, now Joran Vasseur is all over the back of the racing car plus the Force India. It's been 2 years. I don't know why I'm doing this still, but
yeah. So I think Callus is struggling a little bit on this pit exit lap to get the heat in those tires, or struggling a lot more than Nathan was.
Side by side through 1 and 2, heading towards the S's.
As my screen just did that thing, it did again. Apologies for everybody watching at home. And we see Joran Vasseur, wow, overtaking Callus on track.
Just barely hanging on to it was Callus. Yeah, he got into the rear of Joran Vasseur because there wasn't much room between them going into the beginning part of the S's. Callus lucky to keep it under wraps.
My goodness. Yep, lucky to keep it under wraps as he continues on the race, but losing out on a spot as he falls down to 9th, as Joran Vasseur capitalized on that costly mistake and takes that 8th position now. But they're both looking to close the gap up to Laparta, and even now Nathan, who's caught right up to Dark, and there's contact between Nathan, JB, and Dark, as Dark goes a little bit wide through Spoon. Nathan coming a little bit too quickly, couldn't get out of the way in time. But now Nathan making the overtake, but how much is that wing damage going to affect him here as the race continues on, as he's still in 5th, and it looks like he is going to be continuing on as I expected him to. It is just some in-play damage, but that might just be all the difference it needs in terms of Joran Vasseur and Callus to catch up to Nathan once these mediums tire drivers make their pit stops.
That's a shame, Nathan. Shouldn't have any trouble getting by his teammate here.
Oh no. Oh no, or at least you'd hope, or you'd think and you'd hope that your teammate would be polite and letting it through if you're the quicker driver, but we'll see how that plays out in practice, as Nathan coming up to Chris with Dark still putting the pressure.
Dark, yeah, putting the pressure on the dude who ended up hitting him a bit in the rear, so.
Yeah, but no, it's just a little bit unfortunate for Nathan. I think Dark just went a little bit wide, came back on track, and Nathan just had nowhere to go as he was just taking the line through Spoon. But here we go. We might actually see Laparta, though, putting a move on Dark sooner rather than later, as he's oh so close as they're coming around 130R. Is he gonna make a lunge? It looks like he thinks about it, but actually tucks in behind and probably gonna get the overtake done around the next lap, or sorry, around the start-finish straight with the help of DRS. Gonna have to watch out for Yaron Visser, who's right behind, and looking to probably get a move done as well. But actually, Laparta gets the overtake done on Dark. Yaron Visser stays where he is. Callis getting right up behind as well. As now Yaron Visser is stuck in the middle of a Racing Point sandwich here. Between Dark and Callis, as maybe Dark might work in Callis's advantage in the form of keeping Yaron Visser stuck behind him. But actually, as I say that, Yaron Visser just gets much better exit on those medium tires and overtakes Dark. Nathan and Laparta, there's contact, and that's Nathan having to go wide, so Nathan's day is just going from bad to worse, as now he gets a little bit of contact from Laparta as Laparta continues on, and Nathan falls down to 7th, as now Yaron Visser, who was in 3rd, is now, who was behind Nathan and Callis, is now in front of both of them, currently in 6th. And potentially in 1st, pending the pit stop from these medium tire runners, whenever that may be.
AJ Wuhan creeping up on the soft tires.
Oh yeah, look at that! Is now Callis looking to make a lunge on Nathan. Does it very easily, it seems. But now are we going to see AJ try to get an overtake done? Not down into the chicane, but maybe with the help of DRS down the start-finish straight. As Nathan actually kind of wisely going into the pits, but actually no. Yeah, as you said, not necessarily wisely, as I noticed, and as you pointed out, because now they're stuck up. They've basically double stacked the McLarens.
His day's gone from great to it's recovery for points now, essentially, for Nathan.
Yeah, really not what he was hoping for. As Mats retires from the session, and that brings out a VSC. As I think Mats actually had a little bit of a spin through the exit of the last chicane here. Let's ride with Cohen quickly as we're on VSC just to see.
Straight through.
And I didn't quite get to see what happened there, but that's Mats out of the race. And I just saw the little dot right around the last chicane before the start-finish straight.
Yeah, like we saw earlier, VSCs, but no full course safety cars. That was a quick one, actually.
Yeah, very quick one. Just waiting for the to get rid of that, get that car off of the track. But we are back to racing as we're down to 16 drivers here on lap 14 out of 27. Matt's retiring out just on that last lap, but it's Irish Potato leading the way. Vito behind in 2nd, Synchro in 3rd, with Yaron Visser now in 4th as he overtook Laparta somewhere probably on that VSC restart, if not a little bit before the VSC came out.
Yep, see the clouds starting to roll in.
Yep, so rain might be on the way sooner rather than later here, as we're coming down to the last, we're coming close to the last 10 laps, 12 to go here if I'm being exact. As we've got AJ putting the pressure on Callis for 6th. They're coming through the S's, and they're both creating a bit of a gap to Dark, who I think is starting to struggle a little bit on those hard tires. But might be trying to ride them out to the rain and to the point where we can get some intermediate tires on, if we will see the intermediate tires. As I'm not too sure how heavy the rain is going to be, if and when it does come.
AJ Wuhan very close to Callis now. Totally different strategies, so AJ Wuhan's got to get the job done quick in order to save those tires. We all know how hard it is to stick behind somebody and conserve tires.
Yeah, definitely different strategies, as you mentioned. Callis on those mediums, AJ on the softs, but crucially, Callis is able to at least keep that 6th spot. AJ not really closing the gap all that much, potentially both in more of a fuel-saving type modes in this portion of the race, not looking to push, maybe conserving those tires to bring them as long as he can to the point where he can be a bit more comfortable with the rain. But as I say that, Laparta going into the pits, getting off those medium tires and potentially might be putting a set of soft tires on now, which might be the first indicator that we'll be committing to dry tires to the end of the race. Either that, or he's just going to be pushing those soft tires as hard as he possibly can to the point where we have to put the intermediates on. But looking at the onboards, I'm not seeing any rain falling just yet. So for the time being, I think it's just cloudy conditions. As you've got 11 laps to go here in this Japanese Grand Prix. Irish Potato leading the way in that Red Bull with Vito in second and Synchro in third, rounding out the podium so far.
Yeah, Vito steadily closing the gap there. It's a Potato. Oh,
yeah, maybe
3-second time penalty.
Oh, yeah, we see Chris taking one, but yeah, maybe Irish Potato is starting to feel the wear of the tires a little bit, since they are 15 laps old. But so I guess
Vito sticks out.
Oh, Vito's staying out for another lap, so Vito feeling a bit more comfy, and with the clean air, I guess he feels that he can actually create enough of a gap or start to grow the gap, and gain a little bit more positions. Either that, or he's hoping he can ride those medium tires and just hoping for the rain to show up sooner rather than later.
That's a tall ask. I tell you, you never know when it's going to show up. It could show up early, it could show up, it couldn't even show up sometimes, as we've experienced before. So it's
yeah, well, that's
a bit
the
of
thing.
the roll of the dice. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see, and it still looks like as if it's dry here on lap 17. I'm not seeing any raindrops on the cars just yet, so it looks like it's still going to be dry. So maybe he's just looking to take those tires an extra lap or two, just feeling comfortable on them. And what'd you see there?
JB, very ambitious in the turn one on Bumblebee, nicks the back of Bumblebee and around he went. It was just the move wasn't there, and he just sent it. He obviously frustrated considering he started first, took off to that lead, and seeing himself down at P14, he's just trying to make a lot happen in a short amount of time, and fortunately for him,
it didn't work out too well for him.
Nope.
No, not what we were hoping for. But you have to feel for Nathan a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Had a strong qualifying showing, strong race leading the way. But this is why we have the races. Sometimes these things happen.
Absolutely. Vito choosing to stay out again. So, again, for Vito, what does he have to lose? He's already wrapped up the championship. It's a Sunday drive for him. So.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing, and if he's comfortable on the tires, then why not stay out? Synchro, on the other hand, he's done with those medium tires, opting to put the soft tires on, and probably going to go to the end of the race on those soft tires, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see Laparta on the soft setting a fastest lap, bumps Nathan's time off.
Yeah, but he's flying with those soft tires, currently in 9th, and looking to close that 2-second gap to Cruz. And I'm sure it'll only be a matter of time before that gap does indeed get closed.
Yeah, Dark up. Oh, look at Vito up 11 positions. Obviously, biggest loser so far, unfortunately. Nathan JB down 12 spots after starting P2. And Matt's obviously a DNF, so that's really a statistic.
Yep, Nathan definitely the biggest loser. Not what he was hoping for, but at least he still has points here, sitting in 14th, as the top 15, so as long as you finish the race, do get points. So, I mean, it's a bit of a silver lining for him, that he is still going to be going home with something at least, and now it's just a matter of maximizing what you can get out of this race, rather than lingering in the past. You just kind of have to look ahead and shoot for that recovery drive with... well, I guess now about 8 laps to go here in the race, as we're seeing Laparta starting to now put the pressure on Cruz, close that gap up to half a second, and with those soft tires, we might see an overtake done soon as Cruz. Tires are now 8 laps old, so might be starting to feel them a little bit here, and look at the pace difference between Laparta and Cruz. Laparta going down the inside here, and it looks like he makes pretty easy work of Cruz. around turn 1 as Laparta moves up into 8th and Cruz falls down into 9th.
Yeah, Nathan JB, a crucial battle with AJ Wuhan for the 3rd position in the championship with 2 races left. Nathan JB 10 points behind AJ Wuhan, so just points matter here, but of course with AJ Wuhan running 4th, phenomenal race so far for him, the Williams driver, but it's all going to come down to a bunch of these spots here in the championship will come down to Brazil, but
yeah, that's the thing. It'll have a lot of implications next week as we get to the season finale. But I'm looking at I'm riding with Irish Potato, who's only less than 4/10 now behind. Oh my goodness, behind Dark, as I'm seeing Synchro and Cruz, I think, battling it out on track elsewhere.
Cruz pretty much pushing the Haas down that the national circuit straight there.
Yeah, just about. I think Irish Potato had a little bit of trouble on the exit of the last corner, but it doesn't look like it's going to affect too much. As look at this pace that he's closing up on Dark. Dark not having that pace he was hoping for with those hard tires that are now 19 laps old. He might want to get off of those tires sooner rather than later, as he's just been falling down the order. Cruz and Synchro still battling it out. Synchro back up into 9th, Cruz down in 10th. But it looks like those two are just alternating positions as the race continues on. But for the time being, Synchro in 9th, Cruz in 10th. But Cruz keeping close, only 6/10 behind. So expect him to make another lunge and another challenge later on, probably in this lap. Oh, and I just saw the flash, and I think we are going to start seeing the rain start to fall very soon here. As I'm already
Vito's
seeing.
Absolutely nailed it then. If that's the, like, he has these 20-lap-old mediums. He's just out there just doing what Vito does.
Oh yeah, and he's just kind of cruising with the 4-second gap. But it looks like as if the rain is very slowly starting to fall now, as I'm seeing it bounce off the cars as it does. And I did see that little flash that kind of changes that changes the game for the rain. You can kind of see it a little bit on screen as well if you look close enough. But here we go. Things this race might get changed on its head here. With 6 laps to go, depending on how quickly the rain falls. And what? Oh my goodness! Oh, Krishna going into the pits. Don't tell me you're going on inters right away.
He is.
Oh,
well,
he is. Might be.
The front left tire was. You could see it on his POV. You could see the front left had a lot of graining down the center of the tire.
Yeah,
so
but that's
it's pretty much just.
Cruz also opting for the inters, for the intermediate tires. Sorry to cut you off there, but we're gonna have 2 drivers on these tires. I think it's a little bit early for it, but with the races they've had, maybe not much to lose and everything to gain. And maybe they have some indication, the drivers do, that this rain is going to pick up tenfold very quickly here now that it's starting to fall. And I'm already starting to see it a little bit more relevant a little bit more prevalent on the onboards now, as we're really starting to see the rain fall a little bit more now.
It's not there yet, as we see Krishna off, and Degner one had a bit of a moment in the Dunlop curve too. He's taking a penalty for it as well. Cruz a little more hesitant out there with the intermediates, not making it look like a terrible decision, but Krishna pushing really hard right out of the pit lane. Tires just aren't there yet.
Oh no, but we are starting to see the rain pick up, and that's the big thing, I think. So maybe they might have just been potentially a lap or two too early, depending on how quickly this rain does pick up. But let's see. Let's actually jump to where is Vito on track? Okay, already starting lap 22, going through the S's.
Pulled 3 seconds in the last lap out of Vito. You can see the graining on the right front of the Ferrari, and Joran is just licking his lips, just going for it here. It's all played into Visser's hands.
Well, that's the thing. He's definitely not struggling here on those medium tires. Is Joran Visser, as Vito goes a little bit deep into the hairpin, but thankfully is able to recover and keep that first position. But I am seeing as Nathan opting for the inters now. But look at Jeroen Visser getting very close now, but potentially now starting to have a little bit of traction grip with those medium tires. Vito somehow still able to make his 21-lap-old medium tires work. But let's see, on lap 22, are they going to opt to go into the pits to put on inters, or are they going to stay out on the dries? Look, the speed Jeroen Visser has as he makes a move down the inside. They're side by side going through the chicane here. They're still side by side going down the last corner. Vito going into the pits. Jeroen Visser continues onwards. No. And Vito DNFs. What happened?
He walked up the fronts into the pit and into the wall. Oh no.
Oh no.
Unbelievable.
So from hero to zero for Vito as he DNFs out of the race. Thankfully for him, in terms of the championship battle, it doesn't matter too much. But this is right when the race was starting to get interesting, as we're starting to see AJ pitting for the inters, and we've got a few more drivers now that have opted for those intermediate tires. But those are the fronts, still on the dry tires. But heartbreak for Vito, as on lap 23, he is DNF'd out of this race after an incident, and that brings out the virtual safety car to clean that incident up. And just as quick as it came, it went, and we're back to racing here. Jeroen Visser leading the way. Callis about a second and a half back, with Irish Potato now in third, sitting on the podium.
Oh, who's that that's heading off? It's Nathan JB's around, coming out of 130R.
Yep, so really not having a good time on those intermediate tires. But we're seeing
absolutely nothing in those tires.
No, so I think the dries were still the better tire, at least for now. But the rain is definitely there, and yeah, Nathan, his day going from great to bad to worse to terrible, and he's calling it here on lap 23 as that's a retirement in the pit lane. So we're down to 14 runners here, as Jeroen Visser starting lap 24, still opting for those medium tires, so still sticking with the dry tires for the time being, as I don't think anybody is going into the pits to change their tires now.
Yeah, AJ Wuhan is I don't know how he has saved that. Coming out of the Casio Triangle, he pretty much drifting through the final corner. It's not looking like the intermediates are the tire to be with right now.
No, definitely not. As we're seeing Cruz wiggling around. End of the world. Oh, he is out of the race. Where did that happen? That brings out a full safety car on lap 24.
This will help the likes of Jordan here. We're going to have a short one. We're gonna have a dead heat sprint to the end of this race.
So, but now with the longer lap times, there we go. I think end of the world. He went off at 130R, I guess. But now on lap 24, we might only. Well, actually, no. I think we're only gonna have maybe one lap under the safety car. But we're seeing the likes of Krishna, Jordan, and Cruz all going into the pits, looking to put on a different set of tires. At the bottom three, they've got nothing really left to lose.
Cruz retired.
Cruz, Cruz is retiring in the pit lane, so not looking to continue onwards with this race. With 2-3 laps to go, we're seeing Jeroen Visser going into the pits. Callis is going to continue on, so Jeroen Visser probably looking to put on the.
What is this? He's just stopped in the pit.
It's not just me then, as there we go.
What is
that? Jeroen Visser probably fuming in the cockpit as he had to stop on the pit lane due to what I can only assume was either a visual glitch or potentially Cruz's car being just parked in the pit lane after the retirement. But either way, Jeroen Visser putting the soft tires on, coming out in fourth here under safety car, and now that might have just gifted the win to what is going to be either Callis or Irish Potato now, depending on if Synchro and Jeroen Visser can close up the gap in time for when the safety car does come in.
here's something to think about, Eric. Also, the two Williams sitting in 7th and 8th, if the conditions like suddenly just they change rapidly to an intermediate condition, they're sitting there. They're the first two cars on the intermediate tire, while the rest of them ahead. Oh,
That's true. Dark
also,
as well,
sorry,
though,
Dark's
on those intermediates. But yeah, if the conditions, I didn't even think of that. That if the conditions take a turn for the worse, they might be into play. As the dry tire runners start struggling around the track. But let's actually ride with the likes of AJ and Leparc. Let's see how they're handling the track.
Those slicks with the rain, they're gonna cool rapidly, so it's almost impossible to try and keep the temperature in those. Whereas the intermediates, if it's not an intermediate condition still, they're gonna overheat. And in this sense, the overheating is still at least keeping heat in the tires. I know it's not optimal, but it's definitely way better than being out there on a medium tire. Oh, and this who was that? Was that Synchro into the back of Irish New Potato? Yeah.
Oh, big.
He's got damage
in
the front of the Haas.
Just looking, it looks like everybody just kind of caught up to the safety car there. And because I was riding with Leparc.
You're in Vasseur too.
Oh no.
Vasseur's way too close side by side with Synchro. And Synchro's just trying to warm
here we go, we're back to racing as the safety car came in. I completely missed that. Chris 85 into the pits, but it's Callis leading the way. But Callis going deep into turn 1. Irish Potato looking to close the gap, but was just a little bit too far. Johan Vasseur very quickly makes work of Synchro to go up into 3rd, to work his way back up the grid, and it looks like he's flying on that new set of soft tires. Bumblebee overtaking Chris in the pits elsewhere on track. But it's all here in the last 2 laps for the battle for the top 3, the battle for the podium here. As will it be Callis, Irish Potato, or Jeroen Vasseur going to be taking the win here? And also something to keep in mind is the penalties that I wasn't even paying attention to up until now. But we're seeing Irish Potato looking to make a lunge down the inside of the hairpin here. Will he get the move done? And look at Jeroen Vasseur. Irish Potato having a bit of a wiggle there. And now between Jeroen Vasseur and Callis, there's a little bit of contact. All 3 cars are kind of stuck in one another here. As now Callis gets the worst of it. On those 15-lap old medium tires. Down in 3rd. Jeroen Vasseur in 2nd. And now it looks like it might be a bit more of a 2-way battle between Irish Potato and Jeroen Vasseur, as Callis is starting to lose out on those medium tires. But Jeroen Vasseur putting the pressure and making that extra pit stop work here very late in the race on that fresh set of soft tires, and it's definitely paying dividends in terms of pace here, as we're going to come across the line soon enough for the last lap of the race, and we can see
Potato has 8 seconds of penalties.
Oh my goodness!
Completely out of podium contention here.
Yeah, so that might be Irish Potato's race done just like that, as we see Jeroen Vasseur making the overtake look easy. But Irish Potato have been struggling on those 9-lap old soft tires. We just saw there another bit of a tailspin. Maybe the weather has something to do with it, but I think Jeroen Vasseur actually maybe gave it some thought and figured if he wasn't going to go on the inters, he might as well be on a fresh set of slicks to get that maximum amount of grip. But we're seeing Leparc now
have a good final lap. He could easily finish 2nd.
And look at AJ closing up on Synchro like crazy. So I think this changeover period's happened now here in the last lap. So if Leparc and some contact,
so deep.
Yeah.
Oh, and Irish Potato's out of the race.
Oh, Irish Potato out of the race. Oh my goodness. He lost it in that sharp the right-hander there, falling down the order now as everybody gets a free position on the last lap, as that's Leparc who ekes into a podium. But now, is he going to have enough time to close up the gap to Callis? I don't think so. But now in terms of between Dark, Leparc, and maybe even AJ, depending on the penalties Callis has, we might see a completely different podium, as now AJ going down the inside of Dark. They're both side by side on the intermediate tires. Give me a better camera angle than that. Here we go, as they're still side by side, it looks like. Oh, actually, no, Dark is able to keep that 4th spot here on the last lap. But as we're coming around the last corner, Jeroen Vasseur, solid drive to take the win here at the Japanese Grand Prix. Callis crosses the line in 2nd, but now as we see 3 and 4, Leparc in 2nd. And I think Callis does keep that third. It looks like he does. AJ in fourth, Dark in fifth, Synchro in sixth. As we wait for everybody else to cross the line now, I think that's looks like that's Bumblebee in seventh, Chris 85 coming across the final corner here. Looks like he's going to be getting eighth. And Cohen, Krishna, and Jordan just waiting for them to cross the line to round out the session. But we might see a little bit of a variance here as Cohen crosses the line in ninth. Krishna crosses the line very quickly behind. Nope, staying in 10th. And Jordan, the last of the finishers, but still coming out with a decent amount of points, all things considered, crossing the line in 11th. So it all came off. It all kicked off here once the rain finally decided to make a bit more of an appearance. It seems here with the Japanese Grand Prix.
11 spots to get that P2. That was an exciting end to a race.
Yeah, exciting end of the race, and I mean, it definitely changed things up to what was a pretty, I guess, a pretty unexciting race. I guess compared to some of the others that we've had up till that point.
Jordan Visser looked like he was out of it, then he was in it, then he was pretty much out of it, and next thing you know, he's standing on the top step. So. Fair play.
Oh yeah, and I thought it was a mistake going into the pits that late, but he definitely made it work, making that gamble to stick with the soft tires, and it worked out for him as he got to take the top step of the podium and enjoy the champagne probably a little bit more than everybody else. But there we have it. I'll take us through the order. Jeroen Visser, as we saw, taking the win here. From pole, but definitely did not make it look easy as Laparta coming in second, a very solid drive, bringing that Williams from 13th up into second. Callis in third from third, AJ in fourth, and Dark rounds out the top fifth, coming from 15th. Synchro in sixth, Bumblebee in seventh, Chris in eighth, Cohen in ninth, and Krishna rounding out the top 10. Then Jordan, Irish Potato, Cruz, End of the World, Nathan JB, Vito, and Mats rounding out the grid there. With DNFs coming through 12 through 17. So what looked to be a fairly clean race for the longest time all came off with the weather. And even the frustration of some of the drivers as Suzuka showed its teeth, as it oh so likes to do. As we mentioned before, one of the harder tracks. And we saw why, but what a race that was, especially at the end.
Absolutely. Well, we expect nothing less from the Tier 2 guys. Put on one heck of a show, as always. So unpredictable, especially like you said, Japan being one of the most technical circuits. Outcomes may vary.
Oh yeah, especially when you throw in the weather like we did there. And we saw lots of gambles. Some paid off, some not so much. But I think it came down to track knowledge, and a little bit of luck too in terms of what to do with those last little pit stops, with the rain coming down the way it was. But there we go.
We've got the win. Interviews since we got to get Tier 1 started. Is that what we're doing, or?
Well, I wasn't too sure. I'm not too sure. Oh yeah, I guess Tier 1's probably gonna have to start soon. So I mean, yeah, for the sake of time.
I don't think they did it for Tier 3, so.
Pardon?
I don't think they did it for Tier 3. Seems a little bit of a switch up with the schedule, obviously with the real life Grand Prix.
Oh yeah, so I guess for the sake of time saving, we'll skim through the interviews at least so far this week, but we'll try to get them in for the finale next week. But here we go. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the race as much as we did here in the commentators booth. On behalf of ISRL Esports, I've been Fallen Monkeys. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to tune in shortly for the main event, the Tier 1 race. But that's for us in the Tier 2 booth. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your afternoons and days.